Hello, welcome to the Bigger Truth Podcast. I'm Scott McMahon, and I am so glad that you've joined me and us. Kelly will be on just a moment. She has been out working on recruiting delegates all day. And so I'm just going to take just a minute to kind of lay out how I got here and what we're doing. I started as a small town reporter just about, I don't know, in October. So about 7 months ago. And in December, I really started looking into the issues here in Michigan within the Republican Party. And I quickly found that, the issue here, the issues within the party here were pretty big and complex and difficult to understand. And even as I was really diving into it to try to understand, there are two different sides that were saying opposite things. They couldn't both be right. And as I was digging into it to understand where was the truth, I realized that this was a really big issue, and it turns out it really is. I've been researching this now full time we're now in May. It's been 5 months now, really, of researching this. 4 months of absolute full time, completely devoted to researching what's going on within the Republican Party. And I launched Bigger Truth Media in the end of January, and it really, in order to publish my first major piece on the causes of division within the party. And that piece was really about Mike Labadie. Mike Labadie he registered as a Democrat in just a few weeks before the 2016 election in California. And then he ended up just a few months later in early 2017, he was already in Michigan, and he was getting involved in the Republican Party as a precinct delegate. And by 2019, he had worked his way up to a position on the district, the congressional district search committee for candidates. And he was looking specifically for a candidate for Secretary of State. And he found that candidate in Kristina Karamo. And this is someone who, Kristina Karamo she claims to have a doctorate in Christian apologetics, and she may. It appears that she does. It's from it was like an online degree, but she had never had any sort of management position before, as far as I can tell. That she'd only, she never really had a high-paying job and never had a lot of responsibility. And all of a sudden, she's running for Secretary of State, which requires it's an enormous amount of responsibility. Turns out that based on whistleblowers, that 5 whistleblowers that came public, and many other people who have talked to me that have had firsthand experience with Mike Labadie and Kristina Karamo afterwards, that confirmed everything that I wrote in that story. That campaign was really designed to lose, that campaign for Secretary of State. And it was really a campaign specifically for the position of state chair. And so she became they launched, Mike Labadie was involved in an organization from the beginning called Michigan Precinct First that was taking leads from Dan Schultz's precinct strategy and drawing people in. So, and really indoctrinating them. And so as Kristina Karamo was speaking to these incoming delegates, not to a general election audience, and she did lose that general election by 600,000 votes. She never conceded, and she blamed election fraud. And she then became the chair, and with the help of MIPF, MIPF had established Telegram channels that were really the only means of communication for all these new precinct delegates. And they actively censored and removed anyone that spoke out against Karamo, and in any way, asked the wrong questions or challenged their narratives. And so that was just one of many ways that MIPF worked to ensure that Kristina Karamo would become the chair. So I'm going to bring on Kelly Sackett now. Kelly Sackett. Hello, Kelly.
Hello.
Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
And so I just kind of a little bit set the table as far as how Christina Cromwell became the chair, and you were and still are the Kalamazoo County chair.
Correct.
And when did you become the county chair?
December of 22.
And so that was shortly before Christina Cromwell's election.
Correct.
And so because that was in January or February of
February.
yeah.
Correct.
And so that was really, and that was at the county conventions then in December.
So our county convention would have been at the end of November. And then that's where you pick your executive committee. And then the executive committee is who votes on new leadership, so new officers in December. And that's just at a regular monthly meeting.
Okay.
So I was voted in at a regular monthly meeting. And I knew during our county convention that we were going to have issues. I mean, the county convention went until 1:15, which is crazy. I mean, typically, and back in the day, people would be out of there within a couple of hours. So it was very contentious. A lot of division. They used Robert's rules very effectively, and we were able to still hold them to only 7 seats on our executive or on our our executive committee, and that was the ticket right there. But clearly at that point I could see the weaponization of the precinct delegates, and the person who was recruiting the delegates was essentially building her own little personal army. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, we went from there. I remember being on Telegram and reading some posts where they talked about we take over the county, we take over the district, we take over the state. I didn't really know what that meant. I'm going to be extremely honest. In the beginning, I felt like I was living on an island all by myself. Nobody, I didn't know anybody else from across the state. We hadn't formed the state committee yet to even know how our plan of attack, what it was. But I thought that I was all alone. I was the only person out there. I would read Telegram and never comment. So I don't know that they actually knew I was on there, but I was taking notes. I was taking screenshots. I was able to piece together exactly what they were planning to do at the state convention on February 18th. We held our district caucus, all district caucuses for the whole entire state the night before, Friday. And essentially, all county chairs in the 4th district had agreed upon the rules. And we walked into that night where a group of people had colluded with one of the other counties in our district, and they set aside a rule that did not allow us as a county to vote on who our nominees were for the district and state committee spots. And people ask, why would people do that? Why would you disenfranchise your fellow delegate from your own county? More than that, they love to talk about, I'm a duly elected precinct delegate, and everybody in my precinct voted for me, but yet you just gave your vote away to another county. You allowed other counties to select who our representation was and not our own county. Every other county within our caucus was able to caucus on their own, pick their nominees, vote within their caucus, and then bring that to the body. And the body is who chose ours. So you might ask, why would somebody do that? And they would do that because they knew they didn't have the votes from within our own county.
Right.
And so, it wasn't clear to me at that point why they were doing it, but they were doing it because they knew they were going to have to cover Christina.
Wow. So that was really a hostile, essentially a takeover. So, and you're in the 4th district, is that right?
I'm in the 4th district, correct.
And so, yeah, and that 4th district is really it's one of the ones that is dominated by the disruptor organization, or
Correct.
the Karamo cult, or whatever we want to talk.
Exactly right. And
Uh,
so, again, everything wasn't apparent to me then why it was happening the way that it was. It became pretty apparent in April at the first state committee meeting what we were up against, and that's when I felt like I was no longer on an island. I met a bunch of people from across the state who felt exactly like I did, who had these people who had infiltrated their local party and were trying to actively take over. Um, you know, we can talk about multiple counties in the state where the Karamo supporters have taken over the whole entire county. They've removed people off of the district committee. They've tried to remove state committee people, although they've done it incorrectly. So that didn't fly. But they removed them off of their local ECs. They've removed people who were I believe even some statutory members, but they remove people who were voted on, and this is all in the name to keep control and to keep so there's no dissent, and you can't have any opinion that's anything other than what their opinion is. Everything else is wrong, and I will tell you, when they disenfranchised our delegates on February 17th and removed our vote. We ended up, the executive committee decided we were removing 17 of our delegates. And I feel like that was the warning shot that was heard across the state of Michigan, because nobody had ever removed delegates before. And delegates love to call themselves elected officials, duly elected. Delegates are a party position. And quite honestly, the local clerks hold the delegate election for us, but delegates are party positions. And the Bureau of Elections came back and said it's up to the local party and their bylaws to police themselves. And it is not a true election. A couple misconceptions about precinct delegates. Number one, it is the clerk that certifies the election, not the Board of Canvassers. That is the only spot on the ballot that the Board of Canvassers does not certify. Secondly, there is no campaign finance for precinct delegates. What does that tell you? That, again, that's the only spot on the ballot that there is no campaign finance. Thirdly, um, now I'm going to lose my train of thought. The bottom line is precinct delegates are not elected officials. They are simply party positions, and they're supposed to work with the local party to help to get involved, to help the local party further their message. We had a group of people who had never even been to our office before. They weren't members. They didn't want them integrated into our party because that's how they maintain control, right? Because the minute that they start coming to our meetings, they realize I'm really not a tyrant. Um, you know, most local parties are supporting candidates 24/7. I mean, that is our job. If we're not here to recruit candidates to run for office and to support our candidates that are currently in office, why are we a party? And this appears to be nothing that these people are trying to do. I know that they have actively said the only thing that we're focusing on is delegate elections. What does that tell you? They're
yep.
focusing on delegate elections because that's the way that they take over the local party. And I can tell you across the state, people need to get their bylaws in order, because that is how you will protect yourself as a county party with the right type of bylaws. They love to say that the Kalamazoo GOP bylaws are tyrannical. Well, you know what? So be it. If I'm called a tyrant because I want to protect and maintain my county, and uphold the party platform, that's what I'm going to do, and that's what we've done in Kalamazoo County. And it's a really sad thing, considering that our state has, in the past, in 16 obviously voted for Trump, in 20 didn't. Are we a true blue state? No, we're more of a purple state, and we need all hands on deck. We don't need these people dividing us. And that's exactly what they do. They move in to divide, and that is their MO completely. And it's a really sad state of affairs. I'm still trying to figure out why. What is the main objective to doing this? Because as you know, I mean, you've been interviewing people from across the country. This isn't just happening in the state of Michigan. It's happening in almost every single swing state. Um, and why? What is it? What are they trying to achieve by trying to destroy?
Ah, I got your picture. I don't have your audio yet. Kelly, can't hear you. Okay. I am. All right. I'm going to, hopefully she can come back in. And if you're watching live, if you're able to hear me, just let me know. Can you hear me, Skelly? All right. Am I gone too? Can anybody hear me? Okay, you can hear me. All right, great. So thank you. Kelly, can you hear me? No? I'm gonna have you. All right. So there are some things that Kelly just shared that I think if you're in Arizona or Oregon or Idaho or South Carolina or Washington or any of the other states that I've covered, or if you're in any other state in the country, you could probably really relate to what Kelly just said. One of the things that she said that really gave me chills is that she felt like she was on an island. I had a conversation this morning with Shelley Keiss in Pima County that I interviewed yesterday. And
I'm back.
I can hear you now. Awesome. I was just saying that one of the things that gave me chills as you were talking was that you said that you were on an island. Those exact same words are what I heard this morning from Shelley Keiss that I interviewed yesterday from Pima County. And she said that she feels like she's on an island. And this is exactly what I've been trying to encourage people in Arizona to do, is to come together, just like you were able to with people around the state. And I think that coming together is really the reason in Michigan. I think the Michigan Republican Party is in a better place than any other state party anywhere in the country, largely because of the work that you and a lot of others did in order to identify and remove these bad actors. And you were talking about removing precinct delegates, but you're not just removing precinct delegates, you're removing people who really weren't acting like Republicans. I had
Correct.
a conversation on Twitter this morning. Somebody said that I was a rhino. I'm like, okay, well, what's a rhino? A rhino is a Republican in name only, somebody who is not a Republican who's acting like a Republican, and somebody who, these people are coming into the party. They're pretending like they're Republicans, and many of them, the ones that are following the leaders, they actually are Republicans and they think they're doing the right thing. They've just been incredibly deceived into believing that they're doing work to save the state and the country, and that other Republicans are actually the enemy. And but in so doing, they're actually becoming rhinos themselves because they're working to destroy the party.
So I like to think of it that there are the liars and those that have been lied to.
Mhm.
And quite honestly, the liars, there probably is no redemption for those people within our party. They have tried at every turn to destroy us. They're actively trying to destroy us as we speak. Sadly, there are a lot of innocent bystanders who have been lied to. And will those be some people that we can work with? Absolutely. Do we want them back? We absolutely do. I've said this from the get-go. We are not the party of subtraction. We have no business subtracting people from our party. You know, this movement, when they first came in, they said we want all establishment gone. Anybody with big money, we don't want them. Well, we see where that got us with Christina Caramo when you have no money, when you alienate everybody who had supported you. Um, and establishment is not a bad thing. It's been used as a bad term. Establishment actually means somebody that knows what they're doing.
Okay.
And why would we push out people that have knowledge and money? To me, that's the most ridiculous thing that you can do of when you're taking over a party. If Karama would have started off by bringing in all of the other people that ran against her for chair and
Mhm.
appointed them as a cabinet member, we would have been good to go, because guess what? We all supported one of them. And if our person is somehow within a cabinet and working for the betterment of the party, then wouldn't that make us all happy and show that we're all working together? She never did that. From the start, she immediately started pushing people away. And I mean, it's laughable because she was the person who said that she was the most going to be the most transparent leader. And this is a woman who was the least transparent of any elected official that I have ever seen. And, it's sad because do I think that she's probably a good person? I believe she's probably a good person. I have many friends who were good friends with her before all of this started out, and they're pretty sad to have seen where she started and where she ended. Um, the sad part is that we hired a woman with no experience whatsoever in the business world to run a multi-million dollar corporation, and I don't know many people who actually make it as long as she did and would not have been fired. I understand bylaws are hard to remove people, and it takes a long time for people to get to the point where they've had enough. Enough is enough. You would have thought the spending and lack of transparency would have been enough for people, but it wasn't. Then we went into the Mackinac conference where there was a rating system, 1 through 4, of me firsters and rhinos and of all the attendees. And who does that? Who does that to
Right.
people who are actually giving you money, that you're going to rate them? I can tell you that there were people that were more angry of that rating than they were of finding out the financials and where the money was going. You know, you think $90,000 to Joe Moss for some laptops is okay when there was no receipt even submitted, there was no pre-authorization for that, with the budget committee. That didn't tick people off, but the rating system did. That's when I realized, you know what? We have a serious problem here. Some of these people are not serious people, that they were more upset over being called a 4 than they were over money just disappearing hand over fist from our party. And I just, I don't know. Everybody has a different level, I guess, of what they can take. But for me, obviously, I knew that I couldn't take any of it from the get-go, because she allowed what happened in Kalamazoo to happen. We went to her and asked for help. I can't tell you how many times, how many emails were sent from myself, my officers, my executive committee. She never responded once. Then she did an interview saying that she could not be involved with petty grievances within counties. That's what she called what happened to us a petty grievance. Well, the reason why she felt that way, it was because her supporters that did it. If it was turned around, I'm sure she would have got involved right away. And because it was, done by her supporters, she didn't care.
Right.
And they immediately formed a conflicts resolution committee. And that committee was solely formed to remove me. That was their main objective,
Mhm.
remove Kelly Sackett. Well, they never had support to do it. People started seeing, not everybody agreed with the delegate removal. I mean, there's still people that say, we can't do that. That's not something that we should be doing. And I don't. I do agree that it's not something that people should take lightly. Delegates are the foundation of our party and some of the hardest workers that I've ever seen. However, you can't have a group of people disenfranchising the rest of your members and
Right.
doing it blatantly on purpose and doing it because for a reason to take over. And that's exactly what we had. And back in March, when we started the process of removing them, um, I didn't know what it would look like. I didn't know what would happen with our party. I just knew that we had to start to remove the cancer, because that's what it was. These people were nothing but a cancer, and fighting at every turn. And how could we move forward as a party? Even just as a county party, how could we move forward? And then I immediately saw that what was going on with the state party was exactly the same thing as what was going on in Kalamazoo, but on a larger scale.
Right.
And it took time, right? So I mean, I started to fight immediately after the first April state committee meeting last year. I met a lot of people there. There were a lot of unhappy people, and we just kept gaining support. And every month that went by, there would be more support and just more support. But in the beginning, it was gaining support through the Telegram channels and sharing stories. I mean, again, I was on an island there. I was trashed every single day, repeatedly. I Hours upon hours. And you know what? I took it because it was the right thing to do for the party. I
Mhm.
had to stay strong. They were, extremely close to taking us over. And this went on for months. I mean, they went after us and tried to remove our whole executive committee, all of our officers. State party gave this group of people permission to hold their own county convention to remove us. who who even does that? Who thinks that that's okay to justify?
Arizona, they're doing that's the crazy thing. They are doing the exact same thing in Arizona. With MCRC is doing the exact same thing. Gina Swoboda and the state party are empowering them and enabling them in the exact same way. People in Oregon would say this is exactly my story. What you are saying is the same exact story in every way, that is being told, in other states.
This is
It's
how we know it's all connected, because I mean, I'm sorry, this isn't rocket science, right? I mean, it's all been laid out in front of us now, but we see it so clearly. We see it from state to state to state. This was a takedown. I'm not so certain about from who. I mean, I think we have a feeling, but why? What is the reasoning? Um, and it's just so they I mean, they use lawfare also. I noticed that from watching Arizona and the lawsuits that have been waged there. The group of people here filed a lawsuit against myself and the Kalamazoo County GOP, as well as our officers. And they filed that lawsuit. Well, they sent a demand letter last year, February, and we proceeded to be in court with these people for an entire year. 1 year. Um, March 8th of this year, the judge threw the case out. And so we won. Essentially, we won. But the case started out with 8 counts, and right away 4 were removed. And last August, 1 through 3 was removed, and the only thing left was defamation. And then in January, all executive committee members and officers were removed, and it was only me on the stand for defamation against these people. And the case was, as the judge told them, weak at best. They were going after me for an email that was sent out, essentially saying that we had removed 17 delegates, and we never named who they were. We never named who the people were that we removed from our executive committee on the communication. There was a text message that went out that said a hostile faction of a group of our delegates, and what they had done, and we never named their names. Could you imagine going to a judge and calling defamation on somebody else over 2 things that were done that didn't include your name? If that doesn't have guilty written all over your forehead, I don't know what does. Because we didn't call them out by name, but
Right.
They certainly went after me. So, we've been in court again with them. It was almost a year. And quite honestly, a couple of weeks ago, the judge awarded all hard cost to the Kalamazoo County GOP. And so they will be paying us probably anywhere between ten to $15,000. I don't know of the exact number, but let's talk about vindication and how that made me feel. You can't go around bringing frivolous lawsuits to people when you don't have anything except for you're angry and your butt hurt because you got removed from something that you wanted to actually take over.
Right.
Two of the people, the two people that sued me, one of them ran against me for chair of the Kalamazoo GOP and lost 24-7. And after that, she was very angry. Went into running for the district committee, became vice chair of the district committee. The other individual was one of them who was elected onto the state committee. Here's my thing, and I've maintained this the whole entire time. If the only way that you can win is through cheating or deceiving others, then that's not the type of winner I ever want to be. I would rather lose than feel like I have to take somebody's vote away to get what I want. But again, this was to give cover to Christina. That's what they had to do.
That's right.
And this cheating at conventions and things, it's ironic because aren't these people the people that mostly go after election integrity?
Mm-hmm.
I find it so ironic that
Yeah.
the ones who are all about election integrity are actually the ones that are stealing stuff from others.
Mm-hmm.
And Christina Caramo, that's all she ran on was election integrity.
Yep.
And I think now it's very clear to all of us that movement's been hijacked, right? That's no longer a genuine movement. These people, they're not serious people. What they're going after, it's no longer serious. I mean, let's talk about election integrity, right? One of my members, Matt Deperno, was all about election integrity. It How about they go to him and talk to him and ask him about some of the stuff that he's uncovered? Oh, you wouldn't want to do that because you might actually get factual stuff.
Right.
And instead, they manufacture things.
Right. They do everything to slander him and to destroy him. And he is really the number one expert in the state of Michigan on how fraud occurred here. There's really nobody that is a better legal or factual expert about the fraud in Michigan than Matt Deperno.
Right.
And yet they do everything they possibly can to destroy him.
Well, and I mean, he was my attorney, so that didn't help, his case at all in their eyes. But yes, I mean, and so much of the work that Matt Deperno has done has been for little or no pay. And the sad reality to that is, he's also being indicted by the person that he ran against. And I'm not even sure how that's legal in our country when the person that you ran against politically after you lose to them comes back after you.
Right.
And now you're facing a bunch of charges because of some made up things that they want to go after you for. I don't know who thinks that that's okay. Even Democrats. How do Democrats think that that is actually okay in this country? It's not.
Right.
You can't have the people making the laws enforcing the laws at the same time. I mean, that's tyranny.
Not a right left thing. It's truly an un-American thing. It's not about Republican Democrat. It's just flat out un-American.
Absolutely right.
Yep.
And that's the reality. We're under such attack in our state of Michigan. I mean, look at us. We have our 16 electors here who they're going after them. They're going after Deperno, and the other people that were charged when he was. And quite honestly, we're under attack from all sides. And I'm so disgusted that our own party started attacking each other, and this is where we're at. And that tells me, I mean, we have a bunch of Democrat infiltrators is what it feels like, because quite honestly, true Republicans don't act this way. We just don't.
That's right.
It,
That's
from
exactly right.
every example I just gave of the Democrats coming after us, it's the same thing that these people have done to myself and others.
Mhm. Yep.
So
Yep.
I can't think of any other way to say it except for they are just Democrat infiltrators.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Completely agree. I want to get caught up on some comments here from our live audience. Patricia says Kelly is the best. Rayanne says Kelly's fought hard for Kalamazoo. Let's see. Mindy offers a little applause. Um, and trying to get to Lauren says, I remember when you first removed the delegates, it took me a good 2 months of diligent effort um, to figure out what was going on. And she said, I'd been chatting with some of the delegates who were removed, and it was hard to figure out what has actually happened and what the right decision was. And that's exactly, in my experience, that's why it took me a month of full-time, like 16 hours a day, talking to people, reading documents, trying to figure out where the truth was. And I would say in Michigan still today, 99% of Republican voters, when they think about the party, they know there's division, but they have absolutely no idea what to believe. And everyone that I've spoken to, that I know in the state that's not within the party, they say that exact same thing. I don't even know what's true. And that's part of the design, right? I mean, that they make it that we see that in the left where they say the opposite of the truth. They say it repeatedly over and over and over again. And the net result is people are just hopelessly confused.
Well, and the net result is if you say a lie a number of times repeatedly, that becomes the truth. And that's what happened with me, is that they were able to get in front of this so very quickly, and put out the lies, and the lies were believed because, again, what monster removes delegates? And in the beginning, I didn't speak out. I didn't say anything. And it took me a little bit of time to finally speak out and fight back against these people. And little by little, people started, like Lauren said, people started to come around, and they were like, you know what, we've been lied to by this group of individuals. That's where it became so clear that it was all tied into what was going on across the whole state and with Karamo, and that they really were running cover for her. And you could see back to even like after those county conventions back in at the end of November, beginning of December, where people would come onto Telegram and would say, we just took over our county party. Like, what does that mean?
Right.
Why was it thought of like that? Like, we have to defeat these people. It was a battle. Why couldn't we all just work together? No, because we've become this party of absolutes. I can remember when I first started voting, if you agreed with somebody 60 to 70% of the time, they would be your candidate. These people, if you do one wrong step, you're out.
Yeah.
I don't even think 95% is enough. They want 100%. Oh, if you don't believe in the same type of religion as me, we saw it early on within the party that they were trying to push out the Muslims and the Jews. And but again, we're not the party of subtraction. And religion is a protected speech. Why do you how does anybody think that that's okay to push out somebody because of their religious beliefs? But that started early on. That was another thing, and it was glaringly obvious. You can't deny it when people come at two groups of people. And the people that are commenting on here, plus many, many more, we stood up against that. And we said, I believe, the first county to have Rolla Mackey come and speak, because we are inviting to everybody. We want everybody to feel like they're a member. I hated having to remove delegates, but you know what I hated more? The way that those people made the rest of my delegates feel. And I had delegates, people were crying, when after February 17th, the number of emails, calls, text messages that I received saying, what are we going to do about this? Because I'm not letting it go. And it's so if you don't do something about it, then know that we will move to do something about it. It became a matter of people just felt not just cheated. I mean, they felt cheated by their, like I said, their fellow man that we had stood side by side with fighting just in the November elections. I truly feel like in Michigan that the abortion issue was one of the things that really made this group of people kind of lose their minds. I mean, yeah, we were all distraught about it, right? What happened here in Michigan. But I just, in terms of losing control, we lost everything with that vote, that Prop 3. We lost it all. And it's not something we're getting back anytime soon. You know, we here in Michigan, it became a constitutional amendment. And I think that a lot of what we saw, the original fighting, was a lot of people that felt very hopeless and helpless. And trust me, I felt the same way. However, I didn't decide to then go fight against my fellow man because I felt helpless. You know, that was the time for us to come together. That was the time for unity. How are we going to fight the Democrats to win? We're having to fight other Republicans harder than we fight Democrats right now. I don't even think these people know how to fight Democrats. It doesn't appear that they do.
I
I
don't
only
think they have the interest in doing it.
Republic.
Yeah. And then what Christina Caramo is saying even today, she's saying she's the last three videos that I've seen of her recent speaking appearances. She says that everybody that worked to remove her from the party, that they're all liars and that they're all going to burn in the lake of fire, and that that this is a holy war and that they have a spiritual obligation to remove these evil people from the party and to take the party back. That is the former chair of the state party. That's exactly, those are her words. It's absolutely insane. Anna Clark from Arizona says it's like you're talking about exactly what has been happening right here in Arizona, and it's crazy. Tracy says we need better messaging. We've got to pull people back together. There are so many messages of negativity, and that's really true. That there are, we can see very clearly. I think we've all seen how narrative was used against, especially against the left during COVID, and and throughout. Just how the left has been programmed, but they're doing the same thing to us, and that's really the biggest part of my mission, is to expose those narratives that are being used against us. Anna says, no, these people are more interested in fighting Republicans than Democrats, which is really true. I remember I saw a quote that Bob Gomez, who runs LD3, and I think Candace Zarni, I'm going to make sure she watches this because I think she would really relate to you, Kelly. But Bob Gomez is kind of like the Sabrina had an alternate district, LD3. And there's a quote where he said, we need to try to fight Democrats at least once for every 4 times that we fight Republicans. And it's unbelievable, and that's what they were aspiring to, because he was admitting there that all of their attacks are against Republicans.
It's so, again, especially in our state here, where we're so under attack by the Democrats,
right?
And then now we're just attacking from within, it's unbelievable to me. I can tell you, I went to a Turning Point event that was in Las Vegas that maybe 100 county chairs were invited to across the country.
And that was January.
It was what?
That was January of this year?
It was January.
January.
And that event, this is exactly what the woman from Arizona is saying, that every single time we started talking to somebody, the other person could finish our sentences, and vice versa. The other county chairs that I was there with, Vance from Oakland, Mark from Macomb, we were amazed. I mean, we would like nudge each other. Did you just hear that, what they said? Because that's exactly the same thing that's happening here. And even, so Georgia, Wisconsin, it's everywhere. And it was very eye-opening to me. That was obviously before you started airing these, but that's where I knew. I mean, this was, and we had already started to piece the puzzle together last year of the ties to other states. I mean, we had some of that. I know you kind of got some of that information in the various packs and all of the way that they go about moving money and doing what they're doing. The other thing, and I don't know if they do this in other states, but I mean, they call us money launderers. Here in Kalamazoo, they've actually said that the cartel is paying us off. I mean, I guess I didn't know we had cartel in Michigan, but I find it hilarious. You know, we have in our bank account probably in Kalamazoo $10,000 at the most. I mean, that's not a money launderer whatsoever. We don't have thousands of dollars coming and going. You
Right.
know, I wish we did, but we just don't. You know, what this infighting has done is the donor class is dried up, and it's dried up not just at state party level, county party level. It's like that for candidates as well, and it's so disheartening, especially somebody a new first time candidate who can't get donations. And I can tell you, and I know you were there yesterday. We can talk about the Trump rally. We it's almost like I need to go to those things just to survive a little bit because it kind of brings me back to life with hope, right? And because there's a lot of days where there's just not a lot of hope here in our state. And when you go to a Trump rally and you see all those people there and you see them cheering on a man, and it does give me a lot of hope. And I just, we have to hold on to that. I mean, if nothing else, we have got to elect him as our president to save our country.
Right.
And,
Well, and down ballot Republicans, which is so important, and that's a big part of this operation. Is we have hundreds of thousands. Certainly in other states, I've seen this. In the last election, there were so many people that they might have voted for a couple spots, but not for others because they are applying those purity tests, and they'll just leave a part of the ballot blank because they think this person's a rhino or whatever. And there's no empathy at all for the person that needs to hold their nose because of their own beliefs to vote for Trump. And there's a lot of people that they're going to have to hold their nose to vote for Trump. And I think, and we want them to,
well, it
we
does.
need to.
We,
And
we need
and
that.
it's the same thing. We need to be able to do the same thing to vote for if Mike Johnson is or Mike Rogers is the nominee. We need to do the same thing to vote for him or to vote for whoever is down ballot, because we can't just if we just have Trump, but we have a Democrat Senate and House, he's going to be hamstrung. So and
100%.
if we don't take our state House and Senate back, then we can't hold Whitmer and just the absolute insane Marxists that are running this state accountable.
So Senate isn't up for election this time around, so just state house. So we must take back the state house to have a check and balance there. We see what's been going on for the last 2 years without that check and balance. And our state is in absolute disarray. And removing right to work and nonetheless, I mean, let's talk about all of the things that have been put in place with abortion, and a lot of the safety and procedures and all of that stuff has been stripped away. And I think that we have to get back to a place where we're just not letting them shove all of this down our throat. And we hadn't lost the minority here, and or hadn't been in the minority here in our state in 40 years, I think it was. And so that's something that I believe we took for granted. And this is where we need all hands on deck. You know, we have got to take back the house to safeguard ourselves. But you're absolutely right. In the primary, people can vote for whoever they want to vote for. I mean, whoever has an R by their name, you pick your favorite candidate. But when we get to the general, you have got to vote for the person with the R by their name. And
Absolutely.
there is no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Right.
And down ballot is a is a real thing. Now in 22, it wasn't so much of a thing. You know, we had a candidate for governor who didn't do very well. There were a lot of, our top of the ticket didn't do as well as what it should have. We know some of them weren't working as hard as what they should have been working, but we felt it down ballot. I ran for the Michigan House in 22, and I outperformed our governor candidate by 12 points. That's unheard of.
It's
So you're
awesome.
telling me that somebody voted for Gretchen Whitmer that voted for me? I mean, we are polar opposites, Gretchen Whitmer and I.
Right.
And that's a statistic that I find kind of appalling. But that was a real thing. That was a real thing. And it would be great if we had the strong platform for our state to where candidates had a messaging across the board, and if there was even just one message that resonated with every single candidate and we all used it.
Mhm.
And whether it be what's happening at the border. I mean, Kalamazoo County is a sanctuary county. The city of Kalamazoo is a sanctuary city. How are we okay with these illegals pouring in across the border? You heard Matt Hall yesterday say when they were down there, him and Senator Nesbitt, that there was one spot that they just watched, and nobody's stopping them. Nobody is stopping these people. We have no idea about their background. As President Trump said yesterday, some of these countries are clearing out their prisons and they're sending these people here.
Yeah.
If we do not unite behind one thing that every candidate in the state can talk about, we're missing a big opportunity. But that's what we need.
Right.
And I think because we're one of the states that's the furthest removed from the southern border, and some comments are, we need to protect our northern border. We don't really hear about that so often, but we have a border too.
Mhm.
And I just, that has to be our number one concern.
Every international airport is now a border because they're flying.
Well, no joke. Isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
I, you know, we need to come together. I mean, that's all I can stress. And the sad reality is, yes, we did tear things apart so that we could get to a place where we could come back together. I appreciate you saying that in the state of Michigan that we're actually in a far better place than some of these other states. We worked really long and hard to get her out of office and to try to turn things around and to have a man leading us, that bring some levity to our state. And I don't know, I feel like the adults are back in charge, and people are being held accountable, and I'm seeing work being done that I would have never imagined could be done. They're sending people into our counties to help us with things, and I've never had that. Not we've never had that for I don't know how many years. So I'm extremely appreciative of where the state party, the direction that they're headed, and the involvement. I know the special elections didn't turn out how we wanted them to, but quite honestly, there was a lot of help given to those candidates, especially in a short amount of time. And we need obviously more of that. And I think we have people in charge that understand that, and that's the help that we need, to try to take back the
Right.
house.
Yeah,
So,
that's right.
I know I skipped over a lot of the parts of what happened here in Kalamazoo. Um, from the lawsuit, from being, sued from these people all summer long, to then going into them holding a convention to oust all of us, having state party back them completely. State party actually removed my name from their website and put the name of the person that claims to be the chair of Kalamazoo on the website.
Right.
I threatened to sue Karamo on a Zoom meeting in front of every other county chair. Um, and it's absurd. I mean, the things that they did to try to get us and destroy us, but to think that a whole conflicts resolution committee was essentially formed to remove me. You know, I had a guy call me from the Lansing area. I'd never spoke to him before, who was on that committee, and he said, "Tell me what happened." And I immediately started to tell him what happened, and he said, "Now I know why. Now I know why you did what you did." And he worked tirelessly to try to help us, to try to get us to a place of compromise. And there was no compromise with these people. And you know, every single person that came to me, I could list them off. I mean, JD was one of them. Kenny Clevenger from Allegan was another. His vice chair at the time, Melanie. I'm trying to think of who else. There were so many people that came to me and said, if I could set up a meeting, would you sit down? And I said, I will always sit down. You bring the table. I'm always there. The table was never produced because the other side would never come.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, and that's exactly like even yesterday in Pima County, I had Shelley Kais on, and I made the offer, you know, that anybody on the other side could come on, and you know, if they wanted to debate with Shelley over the facts that she was presenting, and you know, the text messages I received is, never mind, you're too biased, I'm never going to come on your show. You know, I'm totally willing to give anyone the opportunity to correct. And if anyone's listening, that, you know, Sabrina or anybody on the other side here from Kelly, if you'd like to come on and talk, you know, talk about, you know, material facts, and you know, and you know, or even, you know, just debate with Kelly, I'm sure Kelly, you'd be willing to do that. You know, so that same table that you said, you know, you'd like to extend, it's still here, it's still open. You're the chair, and you're willing to work with anyone as long as they're really trying to work for the betterment of the party, to be actual Republicans who work to get Republicans elected, because that's what Republicans do. So just a couple. Barbie says it's a mental op called projecting, and yeah, they definitely engage in projection all the time. It's just
All the time. And
it's
it's interesting because they project what they're doing to you. It,
mhm.
it's like a psyop, right? And so much of it is a mental, they mentally try to break you down. I mean, and I've sadly, I mean, these people have tried to destroy my life. And I heard that in one of the women who spoke from Arizona. And I truly think that that's the end game. They're just destroy people, destroy their lives. They don't care. They do not care. And I've just never had such a disregard for other people ever. This you know, this mentality of it, win at all cost, and then they start throwing Bible verses at you, and I'm like, how can that be um, part of your Christian values? Trying to destroy somebody's life, or this win at all cost mentality. I'm pretty sure God doesn't agree.
So looks like she's coming back on, and that is an absolute you know, commonality too in every other state that we've looked at. And they use the Bible as a weapon against to try to destroy their political opponents and to incite hatred. So they actually use the Bible to try to incite hatred against their political opponents. It's unbelievable. And Jesus says to look at to judge people by their fruits, not by what they say. And you know, when you look at the fruit of these you know, Christian nationalist cults, which is what they are in every state, their fruit is hatred, and vindictiveness and slander. And you know, one of the 10 commandments is don't bring false witness, and that's what they do. And along those lines, Michelle says Candace Zarni is not the duly elected chairman. Why are you peddling her lie? She has never been duly removed according to the bylaws. So and the same exact thing in Maricopa County. So Kelly was just talking about this conflict resolution committee that was created, or that they tried to create in order to remove not Kelly, but not just Kelly. They actually voted in an illegitimate state committee meeting to remove, I think it was 7 state committee members from the party for 5 and banned them from the party for 5 years. And now MCRC just created a tribunal. Are you back? Yeah, you're back, Kelly. All
Sorry.
right. That's okay. So I was just saying the MCRC, Maricopa County Republican Committee in Arizona, just created tribunals. They just had it passed a resolution to create tribunals to remove people for whatever reason. And the way that they justified it, and when I talked to Shelby Bush about it, I texted her and she says, we didn't give ourselves any power that the bylaws didn't already give us. And the way that they justified it in this resolution is they literally clipped out 3 to 5 word phrases from different parts of the bylaws, and then they mashed them all together to say, this is what the bylaws say. So they're taking it from, it's just like cutting out words from a magazine and then putting a letter together and say, from different parts of a magazine. That's exactly what they're doing with the bylaws. And this rules for thee, but not for me is an absolute consistency. And you've definitely experienced that.
Oh, absolutely. Quite honestly, the fourth district still doesn't have bylaws to this day.
Mm.
So, at that point, when you don't have bylaws and you want to do certain things, then you have to use the MRP bylaws. That's you have if you don't have your own. And quite honestly, those were never followed. One of my district committee people, Jason Mickelborg, was removed. And
Right.
part of why he was removed was because he wore a Matt Deperno t-shirt. He live streamed the December 2nd meeting, which was the meeting where Chris Caramo didn't have enough people to be able to hold her meeting. And we actually had the quorum in our, yet again, there was a meeting called and there was said to have been a threat. And she and then decided to do a Zoom meeting. It wasn't even Zoom, it was Microsoft Teams, which everybody can't get to load. And she turned your mic off. And so how convenient when you're going to have a contentious state committee meeting to not allow people to speak freely. And so the people on my side were able to find a location. There were 5 locations given to her to pick from. And she said, no, we're going to do Zoom. Do you realize how many people drove from across the state? This all happened at 4:30 on Friday night. I was 30 minutes out from my hotel at that point. Nonetheless, the people that drove from the UP, and now you're telling them it's going to be a Zoom meeting. And think about them. They have to check out of their hotel and then go where to be able to get on a Zoom. So there were 5 locations offered up for the meeting, and she declined all of them.
Mm.
So then I think 8 of the 13 district chairs signed an email, and an email was sent with a location for the meeting. And that location actually had the quorum.
Right.
That's when we knew, things were really starting to shift at that point. And how do you hold a state committee meeting where you don't let people speak freely and object to things? You do that because you don't want any dissent, right? You know what the meeting's going to become. And this just became the MO. Even the state committee meeting that was on Mackinac that started an hour and a half early, and that was the same thing. People could not speak. I watched somebody raise their hand, and they never got called on. A state committee member. They had COVID, so they didn't go to Mackinac, and they never got called on. Even from December 2nd, that meeting, Tim Ross sat there with his hand raised for 4 hours and never got called on.
That's right.
And
Yep.
so it just it it happened over and over and over again. And at some point you have to, take a step back and go, like I said, these aren't serious people that are trying to do the work. These are disruptors. And one of Karamo's things that she said out loud, I believe at the Warren, when they had to defend themselves against Warren's accusations and all of it from the Google Drive. She said, if it burns down to the ground, so be it.
Right. That's right.
And so if that is your mentality going in from the get-go, It's
Yep.
not going to work.
That's
You don't
the
want to work with others.
It's the state chair. It's unbelievable.
State
But that's another one of those mind viruses. That's a phrase, just like we've seen the left in the media, they repeat the same phrase over and over again. I've heard that from so many different sources within the so-called grassroots. Well, if it goes down, so be it. If it burns down, so be it. It's unbelievable. Like that's that. No, if the Republican Party burns down, we're a one party state, and that one party is the Communist Party. It's unbelievable that anybody would actually believe that, but they have divorced. Their minds have been divorced from logic, and it's brainwashing that they've received. And
I
um,
totally agree. There's no other way to explain it. I mean, I think that you would agree to that. There's absolutely no other way to wrap your brain around it because it just doesn't make sense.
mhm,
But until we know that the whys and the who is actually behind this, um, because again, it's not just a coincidence that we're all going through this in different states.
that's right. That's right. And just a little teaser, that is what I'm working on. So it's going to come in the next week or so. I don't know that, but I am working on it. Rayanne says, I find all this very refreshing. We are finally getting truth out, and to know the exact same thing is happening in so many counties and states. It's hard, but at the same time, it gives us hope that we're all starting to stand up against the disruptors. And that's one of the biggest things, and the biggest reasons why I was excited to have you on, Kelly, is that the solution. I've been saying this in Arizona, and I haven't found a lot of people who they just don't have the numbers. They don't have the numbers of people with the courage and the conviction. But this is not going to go away as long as these people, especially those who are doing the misleading and the deceiving, as long as they're involved in the party, it's not going to go away. You can't coexist with these people. It's
Correct.
just like, you just can't coexist with somebody that wants to destroy the party. The party can't function.
That's the cancer, and
Right.
and I don't know many people that want to live with cancer or actually are alive,
Right.
lived through it, living with it without trying to do something about it. And that's the best explanation for it, that at some point you just have to divorce yourself from it
Right.
and walk away. If you want to survive and have a standing party, yeah, I could have said burn it to the ground. I could have walked away. My husband's begged me, my children have begged me to walk away.
Right.
And I said no, that I would not. And that I had to see this through. This isn't the type of chairperson that I wanted to be. This isn't how I envisioned this. I thought my biggest hurdles would be raising money, not raising money to fight off people with a lawsuit or fighting off people nonstop. And that's not what any of us signed up for. And it's the easiest thing to do is to walk away,
Mhm.
and the hardest is to stay and fight. But we have to educate others have to understand what's going on. And for that, I truly do feel that we live in a bubble. Even seeing, being at a Trump event, what's the percentage of people that were there at that event yesterday that will actually knock doors, that will actually contribute to a campaign, that will get involved in the local party? It can't be the small group of us that continue day in and day out. We absolutely need help in this fight, and we need help in fighting the Democrats that are coming at us, coming after us via elections. Not the Democrats within our own party, but we've got to unite. We've got to band together, and win elections. Without winning elections, we can't make change. I mean, that was one of the strongest things that Trump said yesterday. Until we get people elected, we can't make change.
Right.
And I certainly hope that this group of people that's fighting against us, that they do vote for every R on the ballot. I can tell you here locally, there are at least 5 of them that are running for office. And what does that tell you? They're running for office because they want the statutory seats on our executive committees. So
Right.
not only are they recruiting delegates, well, they're running people for the statutory seat.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, I'm running again for the Michigan House in the 40th district, and they didn't run anybody against me. I can't believe it.
That's good. That's good. And that's probably going to be, and maybe we could have another talk just about what they're doing now and what we need to do to stop them. Especially we have less than a week now, just a few more days before the deadline to file for precinct delegate. If you're in Michigan and you're watching this and you have not filed, you need to file now.
Tuesday at 4 p.m. All of the affidavits need to be into the local clerks. That's what I was working on this morning until I jumped on this call. Nonetheless, we have a Lincoln dinner that's coming up on May 11th that Chairman Hoekstra will be speaking at. You know, we have to just keep moving, and no matter what, you just keep moving and fighting what matters. And that really is the Democrats on the other side of the aisle. And that's what we're doing. We're not stopping. You know, we're holding candidate school again tomorrow here in Kalamazoo County. And we just keep moving.
That's right. A few more comments here. Jason, hey, by the way, it was really good to see you yesterday. He says, time for local GOPs to shore up their bylaws and vet your membership so this doesn't spread to any more GOPs. Absolutely. And that's something that, you know, several have said in Arizona and elsewhere. And I think it was Douglas County in Oregon. I just want to give you a shout out. You did exactly what Kelly did just a few weeks ago. You removed, I think it was 6 PCs there that were big problems, and by a huge majority. I think it was like 110 out of 125 or something of the
Wow.
PCs. That just amazing. And so, you know, we need to recognize the problem when the problem is the people, especially the liars, you know, the deceivers that are at the top. And Randy says they need to be removed. Absolutely. Jeff says fighting off a coordinated effort to destroy the party. Lauren says, well, after watching the way the Karamo friends behave at the meeting on Saturday, last Saturday, it's obvious why Christina wanted a virtual meeting where she muted everyone. Yeah, because you know, they know how they behave, and so they project that onto everybody else. Yeah.
100%. Absolutely.
Mr. Bradis says Kelly won't walk away. Those that know the truth need to speak up. You're a warrior, Lauren. Yes, you are, Lauren. I appreciate it. And that's in response to I was there for the burn it down comment, and I actually had to go back and listen to a recording because I couldn't believe she said it. And she did. She did say, if you know, if the party burns down, so be it. And so, yeah, thank you all for joining. Thank you, Lauren or Kelly. Thank you so much for what you have done and for your leadership. And you've done, and thank you to your husband and your children for standing by you and supporting even when it was hard and even if they didn't want you to in the moment. And you know, you've done the state an incredible service. You know, more than just your county, and probably this all went in a lot of directions that you didn't expect it to. But so thank you. How can people get a hold of you if you know, on social media or?
Yes. So, and actually, you know what, if any of the other counties from the other states want to see our bylaws, I know that they can get a hold of you as well. So, you know, everybody can reach out to Scott if they want me to send the bylaws. I don't really want to put all my info out there because
Sure.
I not to, for all the haters out there, love you. But yes, if somebody from another state wants our bylaws, we'll absolutely send them out. They were written by an attorney. I won't say who it is, but they're pretty darn good, and they're locked. They're solid.
So you can find me on Twitter at Bigger Truth, Facebook at Bigger Truth, YouTube at Bigger Truth. Wherever you're watching this, if you could please follow, like, subscribe, whatever it takes, that really helps me to reach more people. Thank you all for commenting that you came on here live. I will have the show notes. Hopefully it'll be tonight. I'll have the show notes up on my Substack, and that's biggertruth.substack.com. Contrary to it's funny how they all have the same hive mind, but everybody that's attacked me so far in Arizona and Michigan, they accuse me of having big money donors. It's another example of projection because they, of course, do have big money donors. But I'll, the best way to support me and to enable me to continue doing this full time is to subscribe on my Substack. And so again, that's biggertruth.substack.com, $5 a month. And I would really appreciate your help. It means a lot to me, not just financially, but also just, it's great encouragement to have your support. So thank you. Kelly, do you have any final words?
If we didn't have you out here doing the hard work and putting the truth out there for others to see, I don't think that enough people understand what you've done for us. I mean, you gave us all a voice. All of us that felt like we were on an island, you gave us a voice, and we appreciate it. So know that.
Thank you. I really
We'll keep fighting. We need you. We can't have you go anywhere either. And so everybody needs to subscribe, hit the like button, share his social media, do what we can to ensure that Scott's here to keep putting the truth out there.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. And it's really been a joy for me to get to know all of you. And if we haven't met in person, I look forward to that day. So, good things are coming, and I know it. And the solution, the ultimate solution, is that we don't just put our hope in Trump or in any one person or even group of people or in the Republican Party to get things done, but that we all become statesmen. We get involved in the party and do the hard work of debating issues, raising out candidates and supporting those candidates, getting them elected. That's the way that we win, and that's the reason why they're attacking the Republican Party. So to the statesmen. So we'll leave it right
there. Comes from within.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you all.
Thank you. Have a good day.